7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Twyla.
Councillor Bowie is excused. Councillor Bickford?
Here.
Councillor Ward?
Here.
Councillor Pomelo?
Here.
Councillor La Rochelle?
Here.
Councillor Mason?
Here.
Councillor Lunt?
Here.
Next item, Twyla.
Since there is no public hearing, audience participation, at this time, those in the audience who wish to address the council may come forward. Please use the microphone at the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Audience participation. Anybody have any interest? Seeing none, we'll move forward.
Next thing is under consent agenda. Any councilor wishing to have any item removed may do so now. Order 2012-27 to approve the minutes of February 7, 14, and 21.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Next item, Twyla.
Under council orders, resolutions, and ordinances, Order 2012-28, Route 196 sewer lining project.
Ryan Layton will present you with those.
Good evening. As you all know, as spring and summer, Route 196 will be paved from Two Rivers all the way through to Lewis and Line. I like to keep saying that so people realize that it is going to happen.
Look into the camera when you say that, so the public knows.
It's a state road that the state will finally be paving. Prior to the project, we ended up cammering all the sewer lines, or majority of the sewer lines in the project area, just to get a feel for what the condition was. And we identified several locations in the section of sewer between roughly the where the vegetable stand is out here on 196, down towards Two Rivers Medical, and identified about 700 feet of sewer pipe that was a condition 3 or worse in the condition rating that we have from Ted Berry Company that does a lot of our cammering work. And our goal was to bring everything that was in that location up to a condition level of 2 or greater. So I identified 2 sections to line based on the size of the pipe and the location, and especially considering the prices we got to excavate. In the condition of the pipe itself, it was a good candidate for sewer lining. So we put out an RFP, sent it to 3 vendors that I got a bid list that Lewison had used in February of last year. I didn't indicate in situ form. Technologies was the 3rd vendor that's not listed on the memo, but we never really did make contact with them. We faxed the RFP and tried emailing them and calling them, but never got any interest. They were out of Missouri, so I'm not surprised, I guess. Reynolds Inliner and Eastern Pipe Service were the 2 vendors that did show interest. And we received 2 bids. One from Reynolds was $52,500, and Eastern Pipe Service was $26,950. And I immediately called Reynolds Inliner because they're in Fairfield, Maine, and they're the firm. Seems they keep changing their company name, but they're the firm that did the sewer lining for us on 196 down in front of the bowling alley way back. And we've had a good relationship with them. And I called them and asked them why there was such a big difference in price, and there is a slightly different method of installation. One is the Reynolds Inliner is a CIPP product, which is actually, it's like a sock that they unroll down the length of the pipe, and then they soak it in resin and heat and water, and the thing expands and seals up against the existing pipe, and basically they're creating a pipe within a pipe. The Eastern Pipe Service uses it's called an ultraliner, and it's actually an SDR35 PVC pipe that's folded in on itself, and then they end up dragging it through the manhole down through the main, and they do the same thing. They expand it with heat and water and pressure, and that expands and fits up against the inside of the other pipe as well. So it's the same type of process, but slightly different materials. And so I wanted to know for sure that we were, that it was all right to take the low bid, because He's been burned in low bid projects in the past. And the guy at Reynolds told us to give him the job because it's a great price. If he had been $5,000-$10,000 more, then he would have recommended that we go with him. But based on the price and the experience of the company, he said to go with them. So I felt comfortable going with low bid, which is why we are recommending to award the Eastern Pipe Service. They did do some work recently in Auburn. Tried to get a hold of the engineering firm the engineer at Wright Pierce that was involved with them to get some feedback on that, but I haven't been able to touch base with them. But based on the feedback I did receive, I recommend that we award the project to Eastern Pipe, and they can get that done before we start doing the road project.
Any questions from council?
Yeah. You said you had this in front of the bowling alley, same company?
Yeah, no, the company the more expensive company was the same firm that did the work in front of the bowling alley.
Oh, okay.
And the budget was based on his numbers, which, when I opened the bids, he originally told me to plan on $100 a foot. I'd planned on $70,000, and then he came in at 52, and so I was really happy. And then I opened the other bid, and it was 26, and I was like, wow. So between this project and then the other sewer project on 196 that we talked about last fall, which is going to be, I'll be back to see you hopefully in 2 weeks to finalize that project. We're going to be looking at having both of those projects done for a total of $50,000 when we originally budgeted 100. So, and we'll talk more about that next project next time. But
Any other questions from council? Brian, I have a question. Does Reynolds actually use that same process that the other company's going to do? I mean, or do they just not? I mean, I know
they do. He says they've done some of the work down in Florida, but they're not geared up to do it up in this region, at least, or they haven't been doing it in this region. They do that's CIPP, which is a cured in place process, versus the ultraliner, which is a slip lining where they pull an SDR-35 pipe through it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you still end up with a SDR-35 is what we're putting in the ground, an open trench. So, I mean, you end up with it's more of a friction fit versus a epoxied fit, I guess.
Now, the pipe that we're replacing because it's cracked and fallen in?
It's structurally still sound, but it's asbestos cement pipe, and it's starting to flake and peel from the inside from the scouring. Actually, the first section we're doing is where the D&B pump station, where the pressure line goes to gravity. So that section, usually, that always is seeing a big influx of flow, and then it trickles out, and then a big influx. And that section was really seeing where it was starting to just scour away the inside of the pipe. And being it's either 10, I'd have to look, I think it's 10 or 12 inch. The size of the pipe, the 12 inch asbestos cement, in the removal of that, and then the disposal, based on the integrity of the pipe now, this is definitely the best with traffic and everything else. This is the best alternative.
And I would assume this works better in this circumstance since it's not, I mean, if you had a pipe that was actually being collapsed or caving in, this process wouldn't work anyways. This is more for just protecting the inner liner, so it's not really a durability, it's more of a
I mean, you
coating.
basically end up with as if you put an SDR-35 pipe in the ground.
by the time they
Yeah.
catalyze.
And what it is, you're right, if the integrity of the pipe the overall integrity of the pipe wasn't good enough right now, it wouldn't be a candidate for that. There's the longer section actually has a hole in the side of the pipe, but this will
Take care of
conform
it.
right against it. What happens is when they go by all the services connections, you'll see a little dimple where the pipe is expanded out into the little 4-inch circle or 6-inch, and then they go back down with the camera and like a rotozip and cut open the.
It's pretty
neat.
interesting.
It is
Yeah,
pretty
it's
neat.
pretty well stuff.
For sewer pipe, it's cool.
Now, I know we're not talking about it, but the other 196 projects, isn't there more questions with the integrity of that pipe?
That one, what it is the plan there is, and quite frankly, based on the difficulty we had with bidding or not bidding and whatnot, we've had a proposal from Ted Berry Company, who does all the who does our camera work and emergency, response for sewer pipeline cleaning, and they're actually probably the premier company in the region for doing what's called pipe bursting, and that's what that's what we're proposing there, is that they actually burst the pipe from, it's currently a 6-inch plate tile pipe, and they burst it out to an 8-inch It's the
I don't understand how they can do that, but
HDP, I mean, it's just.
how do you take
just
ground and
pressure.
actually make it bigger? I don't know.
That's what it is, they push it out, and in the one section, they didn't want to pipe burst it because the gas main was over it. Because what they'll do is they're gonna come along, they're gonna vacuum relief in certain areas and remove the soil from all the way down to the pipe, so that way, when
does
they're
have
coming
room.
through, it's got a place to relieve. But it basically just swells open, the pipe gets destroyed, the old one, and it gets expanded, and the new pipe comes through in the same place. So Lewis and I talked to them about getting the lining list of bidders. They're really interested to see that process too, because they just haven't experienced much of it. But so that's what we're going to propose there. But the upper section of it, we're going to propose lining. So I just wanted to make sure I had some other prices to show you that, so that way it's not just one. I don't want to come with one price and never hear the end of it.
Understandable. Any other questions from council? So what I'd like to do is move forward a motion for order 2012-28 for the 196 sewer lining project and award the bid to Eastern Pipe Services LLC for $26,950.
So
I'll
moved.
second that.
All those in favor?
Order passed 6-0.
Next.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2012-29, the treatment plant centrifuge inspection.
I like to do things all at once, so I don't have to keep doing that. Again, as part of the budget, we had planned on doing an inspection and potentially major overhaul on the centrifuge. To get that project started, we contacted the manufacturer who did the same work in 2006. According to the operator's manual, it's recommended that the work get done every 4 years. We're not on that schedule. We need to get back on that schedule. And we had a hard time finding another firm that could do this kind of work. And I got to tell you the story because it's just too unbelievable. The guys at the treatment plant, Steve Avioli's right now is the acting operations manager. He went through the old files and actually found the business card from the guy that was on site to do the original installation of the centrifuge. Called his number that was on the card, which still worked, and the guy works for another firm out of Texas that does the same kind of work. So we were actually able to get two prices for this work. One was from the manufacturer of the equipment, GEA Mechanical Equipment, for $14,261, and the other one from B&P Process Equipment and Systems for $13,918. And based on what we're doing, we do recommend going with the higher bid based on the amount of money we're talking here, and go with the manufacturer, which is GEA Mechanical. They are going to do a routine maintenance type of process, which is check all the bearings, replace bearings that are required in an overall service. And then, but the big thing is if they find something, I want to be able to get the parts from the manufacturer versus, I mean, this other firm would have to go to the manufacturer to get the parts anyway, so feel more comfortable just dealing with the manufacturer on this particular service. So I recommend that you award the project to GEA Mechanical for $14,261.33.
Any questions, council?
I'd just like to point out, when we say that we're going with a higher bid, it's $343 higher to go with the one that,
It's
yeah,
less
so-
than 3%.
Yeah, yeah, I just want to make sure, though.
On a
Last
total
one.
cost of 14,000.
What's that? Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. The last bid would have been higher to actually justify the difference.
Correct.
But any other questions from council at all? Are these the same people that we would call if there was a concern later down? Are they locally for service if you?
No,
have a-
these, I mean, there is no, we could not find a local service rep for something like this. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't, I want to say the equipment comes from overseas anyway. I want to say Sweden, but I don't remember. And these guys, I believe, are out of Wisconsin or, no, New Jersey, that's right. These guys, these service folks will be coming from New Jersey versus the folks from the other firm would be coming from Texas. So.
And while this is down, is that actually an operational problem, or is that?
It is if it takes too long. I mean, this will be something that we end up planning for, so we can get all the, get our biosolids down and out, and that was why we're doing it now, because our septic receiving is down during this time of year. I mean, I should have been here in February or January, but I'm here in March.
And they're both being able to start at the same time, and they both can work within your schedule?
Yes, Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're gonna need a couple weeks anyway, just to get the system where it needs to be, so that way we can accommodate a downtime for a week.
Any other questions, council?
Do you know, are there going to be any effects? Is it going to affect the town in any way? while
No,
the system's
no, what it
down?
is just all this piece of equipment does is that, it takes the water out of the solids that are removed through the wastewater treatment process and basically removes the liquid from it, so that way we can transport as roughly dry, solids that gets hauled up to, Hawk Ridge. It's, New England Organics is the company that hauls the biosolids for us. So as long as we have holding tanks, and as long as we have those tanks down to a point where we can, build back up, and then we'll be running, so we'll run hard to get things down, then we'll take a break so they can do the work, and then they'll be running a little bit more steady afterwards. Right now, we're only running like 2 days a week, 3 days a week, depending on the septage income that's coming in right now, so.
How'd they come up with the price? Is that just a general price for overhaul? I mean,
What it
do they
is,
come in?
no, what it is they listed out, if you look at the GEA quote, it's all the equipment that they're gonna have shipped to us. And I don't believe, because we've had this done before, and they ship everything that they may need. And that if it's even worse than they expect, then it'll be a different story. But they ship everything that they think they're gonna need. And then once they get into it, they'll return what they actually don't need. But that's you've got the unit cost for all the pieces of equipment, and then you've got for the components that they intend to work on, and then you've got travel time and the fact that they're lodging, and then.
This is what they
that they're
do.
gonna be that they're gonna be working overtime, pretty much.
Is there going to be a problem since we've already gone over the 30 days? Because the quote was only good for 30 days, to 227?
Oh, no, I don't believe so, because actually, we had to have them give us a new quote because we had one when I did the budget, and it went down from the time they.
No, really?
It went down from the time they'd done the original quote back for July or August to this one, so I'll follow up with them if it's an issue, and then I'll be back.
Any other questions? So I'd entertain a motion to move forward order 2012-29 for the treatment plant centrifuge inspection and repair to GAA Mechanical Equipment for $14,261.33.
So moved.
A second.
All those in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Ryan.
Next item, Twyla?
Order 2012-30, 16 Lisbon Street.
16 Lisbon Street is a piece of property that we took through mature liens over the last, from 2008, 2009, and 2010. The gentleman who owned it did get his letters. He signed for the certified letters. After that, we had also sent him a letter through code enforcement to tear down the buildings, and he did also sign for that. He left us a message on my machine that he didn't want to tear the property down, and that was it. I called him back, no response. We sent him a letter last week telling him that we would be addressing this tonight, and again, there's no response, so my recommendation is that we move forward. We legally own the property anyway through the foreclosure process and lien process, but it authorized me to tear down the buildings and clean up the site.
I have a question. What is the total due on this property? Like, what is,
He owes a total of $1,060.43. It's a .4 acre lot. The buildings have no value. They did, but it's,
okay, I wasn't here for the,
that session.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
the
curious.
two little buildings.
Is it blue? Is it like blue and gray?
It's actually, it's different than what I initially was. It's more of two kind of out shacks than there is actually buildings.
Oh, okay, all right, I know where that is.
Right beyond Cox's garage.
Oh, okay, yep, I thought it was the one before that, all right.
Yep.
So
Any
Fire
other,
department will burn it down, just really, and then we'll just have Public Works clean it up.
any questions from council at all?
That's my question.
Yeah, how was it going to be moved?
Yes.
Yep. And this item was discussed through council, and we were even still at our house, something could be broken off so small of a lot, because it's really not a, it's a non-conforming lot that really couldn't be done anything with. So, what I'd do is, entertain a motion to move forward, order 2012-30, order to be for 16 Lisbon Street for the demolition and cleanup of that property.
So moved. I'll make
Second.
that motion, yeah.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Great,
Order
thank you.
passed, 6-0.
Next item, Twyla?
Is under other business, Lisbon Spirit of America tribute.
I had asked counselors to think of somebody or an organization that would be, receive this year's award for the Spirit of America Foundation Tribute to Outstanding Community Service. And the council has given me a name, all in agreement. It's, we will not disclose that until we send off something to the organization, and soon as they're ready for that announcement, we will do a presentation to this person and here on a regular council meeting. And thank you all for getting that together.
Any questions on that from council? We're all set.
So,
Next item, Twyla?
Is under, is Recreation Committee.
If you want me to address that?
Yeah,
or-
go ahead.
Me and Steve met last night with the Recreation Committee, and this is the first of the many committees that we're going to be visiting, just to go by what our plans are this year, to actually review all our committees and make sure that they're operating the way they should be, and if they're, the support they should have from the council. And the Recreation, it was a great meeting.
a very good
I
meeting.
think there's a lot of, it's a program that's really changed over the years and grown, and it actually has really gone beyond what the original intent was of the committee. So I think everybody would be eager to kind of pull this all together and kind of revamp it, so it really does outline what they do, which is a lot.
Yeah.
There is. So, I mean, it's exciting. Hopefully this will move forward, and some of the things we're looking forward to even help out council is how we actually have new committee members come in the process of how we look at them and how they're brought to us. And some of the ideas have been having them attend 1 or 2 meetings, meeting with the chair and the department head, and getting a really good feel of what the committee they're going to be joining, and then having the recommendation come to us with the idea of following some background on the person, making sure they fit the criteria. So I think we can do everything we can to support the committees, and this is an important part. And one of the things that we kind of tasked Steve with this year is to work on this, and I think we got a good start.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Very good start.
Any questions on that from council? I think, Lisa, we appreciate you there last night, and I think that's be a fun committee for you to work with here this year.
Yeah, it was nice. I learned a lot about what the Recreation Committee does, and I think I knew about as much as other people who aren't involved with it directly, which is pretty much nothing, other than the fact that they run after-school programs and stuff. So it was nice to see that they seem to be pretty much of a mind when it comes to, keeping the town healthy in that direction, and it was a good meeting. I liked it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that? So as we move forward, I mean, it's going to be really important this year as we pick committees to actually sit on and to kind of support that we do that, and we come back with the information, so.
My question is, when I'm submitting stuff for them, or they send stuff when we put it on paper, you want the council to kind of get copies of that, so you're staying on top of what they're thinking?
I think that'd be.
I would
yeah.
think,
good.
yes.
Yeah, because
Every
we're looking at
committee.
rewriting the ordinances and adding things, and taking things out, and I got started on that today. It's really amazing how little there is in our ordinance about what they do and how they function, so, and they're going to supply me with a lot of information, so.
And how long it's been since it's been updated.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
long time.
One of the things that we've been working with that we've been trying to figure out, and maybe we can get a little input from council, is some of the meetings we had this year. We've actually had 1 or 2 meetings with the committee chairs, and we're thinking about maybe doing that, either 2 or 4 times a year to get the chairs in, so we can make sure everybody's working on the same page. Does council feel that those meetings were beneficial? And
Yeah.
Definitely.
we do a lot of workshops, but I think these are very beneficial, for everybody. So hopefully we can move forward with that too.
Get that started.
Any other questions on the committees? If not, we'll move forward. Twyla next.
Town Manager's report.
I'd just like to thank Public Works for odd storms that we've had. They've done a good job, and just so the public knows, they're trying to stay ahead of all the potholes with all this water and everything. It's been a real task, and Actually, we talked about that today. Fern and I may be using different materials. We learned a little bit about how they do it down in Florida on racetracks, which is kind of interesting. But they're working hard to stay ahead of it, and we're all looking forward to 196 being reclaimed and paved nicely. Dispatch, just give you up to date on that. If you hadn't got a chance to read the paper today, the county commissioners will be discussing that tomorrow. They seem to have another proposal. They did provide us with a lot of handwritten notes, so some of the managers and myself and David will be there tomorrow to ask questions. It looks like they're aiming for March 21st, which is their next meeting, which will be in the evening at 6 o'clock, to make their final recommendation and decision on that. So it will be an interesting process to see how they move forward. We got a visit from the owners of Knight Celotex, just to bring everybody up to date on that. They are planning on getting everything out of the building by spring, and then start demolishing the building as soon as that's done, probably May or June. If anybody is looking for any material that's out in their yard and you'd like some, just give Scott Benson a call. They are finding it very difficult to get rid of that material, and they've reached out to us to try to help them to find somebody that will move it. They'll transport it if anybody wants it, but it needs to get off the site so they can move forward with their plans. They don't seem to have any real definite plans of what they want to do with the site at this time, but at least they're talking to us.
Yep.
I went to an interesting conference on Friday with all the managers throughout the state, and we talked a lot about, we had a presentation by one of the public safety director from Westbrook, and they talked about consolidation, and several other managers talked about how they're doing the same things that we're looking at doing, is trying to find ways to do more with less money, and we're all facing the same thing. So it's always nice to hear that from your colleagues, that you're all in the same boat, trying to keep people employed and keep our service levels up. But that's all I have.
Doing more with less, right? And that's,
Doing more with less.
that's the name of the topic of the
Name of the game.
Council Communications, I think, is next.
Yes.
Does anybody have any communications?
I do. We had a Moxie meeting today, Twyla and I were there, and only 4 months left till Moxie. And we have some good or expanded things happening this year. There is a car show this year. The rec department will be sponsoring that. I don't know the times exactly. Do you remember? It's Sunday afternoon anyways. So that'll be interesting. That's something that we had in years past and kind of went away for a while, but it's coming back. And also, too, we are looking for volunteers. Moxie, the parade itself, takes about 20 volunteers. So we're hoping that there are folks out there, organizations out there that are willing to help out with Moxie. We know it's a great event, but we'd like to make it an even better event. So if you have a civic organization or just a group of friends that would like to help us, we would love to have you. And we will be meeting monthly and then bi-weekly and weekly and on down the line as things get closer. So things are shaping up, a lot of good things coming. We're getting calls for the parade already. Twyla's working on vendors and crafters, so should be another good year for us. You're welcome to contact Scott or Twyla or myself. We'd like to help out.
It always happens, right? It just kind of keeps marching
It just-
forward, and the
yeah,
day
just
comes.
bang, it's
Yep.
there.
Any other council communications? Oh, good. Just like to bring a couple things forward. We've been working on the fireworks ordinance, or looking at it, and that still is moving forward. The Police Advisory Commission or Board, or whoever you want to actually, I didn't say it correctly, but I did sit through part of the meeting, and they did look at it, and they have a lot more questions, and it's not that anybody's ruling it out or actually giving it a green light. I think what they're really doing is taking that time to look at it, to really make a good, honest decision on what's going to be the best for the town of Lisbon, which I think is important. So once they actually do their review and get the information, they'll be bringing their findings back to the council for us to review and for us to move forward what we'd like to make for a recommendation. So we're looking forward to that, and it's probably not going to be real timely because of the process they go through, but I think it's going to be, whatever we do, we want to make sure we do right. The other item that the council is working on, that just to let people know, is on something that we've been talking about quite a bit, is on a budget vote that we've been kind of having some different meetings on. the consensus of the council was we wanted to actually see what this change to the charter would look like if we did it internally. So we've actually tasked our lawyer with putting it all together, writing up a change to our charter to see what that would look like and to see if it's something that we could all agree upon and try to move forward to a vote. So it is something we are working on, because I've been asked a few times from different people where we are with that. At this point in time, we are looking to see what the best possible way would be to get that written and have it kind of reflect what we want. So as we go forward, hopefully within, by the time we get done our budget season, we'll have some rough drafts on that so we can take a look and try to figure out if that's something we can work with. Any other council communications?
We'll talk about the planning board meeting.
Yeah.
That too.
Actually, no, if you want, I can actually go. The planning board did meet the other night on a workshop, actually during a snowstorm. They were pretty dedicated to come in. There is some time-sensitive items that they're working with, some concerns that citizens has about zonings and other concerns with the idea of, they've been addressed to us. The planning board did have a great workshop. They actually had an outside planner that Steve arranged to come in to look at it from a very outside view. The only thing that I think that could improve that was the idea that she came in 2 years ago. And actually, when they started a lot of the relooking at some of the zoning, because she actually did have a really outside approach on what the zoning should look like in Lisbon. And some of the ideas are really awesome that she came up with. And as we move forward as a council, I think we're going to have to get really educated on what she has to offer. And some of the things she was talking about, which made a lot of sense, was right now, as we actually look at TIFs and look at actually trying to actually help our community grow, she really felt that we need to actually have a master plan in place that actually is dedicated to 196, meaning that if a business came in and said that I'm going to build on 196 and I would like a TIF, that we would have a criteria saying that's great, but one of the requirements getting this TIF is this is what we want the front of your place to look like. It needs to be, it needs to actually fit the rest of the buildings around. The frontage needs to look a certain way, the lawn, the shrubbery, and not making it so it would be really hard for them to do that, but just make it very consistent. So our 196 project gets built up, one step at a time, and we do have the benefit to do that when people are coming forward with TIFs, that we could actually use that as a tool to actually improve our 196 image, if you want to put it that way. Being in the past with other TIFs that we've worked on, that's something that was really never looked at. We were concerned about the big project, but we were never worried about what it was going to look like on the edge of the road. So I think it's really, really important stuff that we actually have a master plan of what we want 196 to look like. So when a business comes forward for even to the planning board, we can say this is our master plan of what we would really expect the front of the property to look like. So without that, having that written, it's really hard to actually have that guideline. So, and that's just one of the things she touched on. It was just amazing, the stuff that she was bringing in that we really ought to look at, and it would make our life a lot easier if we had the proper plans in place. So we wouldn't be reinventing the wheel every time someone comes forward. We would just have a master plan of this is how it would work. So I think it's really exciting. I think the planning board walked away with feeling they actually had I hate to say the word tool, but actually a resource they can use to actually try to make just not decisions, but actually really educated decisions. So I think it was really exciting. I don't think anybody.
She's very good. She's a community planner.
Yeah.
So it's not just writing ordinances, but she really knows the layout of how things work and how things can be put together and what they would look like, and she's got a good background.
And she sits on the small town planning board.
Yep.
So, I mean, she actually has the insight on what goes on. So that was, to me, that was really worthwhile. And like I say, the only thing I could say that make it better was that we had her a couple years ago to actually try to make this work
I'd
forward.
say.
Yep. And seeing no other communications, Twyla?
Next item is an executive session, orders 2012-31, 32, 33, to go into executive session per 1 MRSA, Section 4056A, Personnel Matters, Town Manager, Section 4056A, Labor Negotiations, and Section 4056C, Economic Development.
And entertain a motion to move forward with this. This is, I do not believe there's going to be any votes at the end. This is strictly for information for the council. Do I hear a motion to move forward?
Make a motion to move forward.
Second.
All those in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Thank you very much.
With the state.